Welcome to lesson 2 of The Great Gatsby. We're going to go through pages 1 through 4. I'm going to annotate on the screen, and what I want you to do is go through with your sticky notes and annotate along with me. So chapter 1, we start with our narrator, Nick Carraway. He will be talking to us through the whole book. And we have a first-person narrator here, so we are always seeing his thoughts, ideas, opinions of what is going on around him. And he starts with an introduction of himself. He says, "In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantage that you've had." So this sentence is very important. Basically, his father has told him that he should not judge people because not everybody has come from the same background. Not everybody has been as privileged as he has. He didn't say any more, but we've always been unusually communicative in a reserved way, and I understood that he meant a great deal more than that. In consequence, I'm inclined to reserve all judgments, a habit that has opened up many curious natures to me and also made me the victim of not a few veteran bores. So basically, Nick's saying his personality, he doesn't judge people. The abnormal mind is quick to detect and attach itself to this quality when it appears in a normal person. And so it came about that in college I was unjustly accused of being a politician because I was privy to the secret griefs of wild, unknown men. Most of the confidences were unsought. Frequently, I have feigned sleep, preoccupation, or hostile levity when I realized by some unmistakable sign that an intimate revelation was quivering on the horizon. So basically, he's saying people tell him their deep, dark secrets because he does not judge. They feel comfortable sharing their life story with him, their secrets with him. For the intimate revelations of young men, or at least the terms in which they express them, are usually plagiaristic and marred by obvious suppressions. Reserving judgments is a matter of infinite hope. I'm still a little afraid of missing something if I forget that, as my father snobbishly suggested, and I snobbishly repeat, a sense of the fundamental decencies is parceled out unequally at birth. Here he means that at birth, not everyone is given the same opportunities and chances in life. So that is what he used to believe. And now he says, after boasting this way of my tolerance, I come to the admission that it has a limit. So he has now come to the admission that tolerance, tolerating people, not judging them, has a limit. Conduct may be founded on the hard rock or the wet marshes, but after a certain point, I don't care what it's founded on. So he says the way people act might be from the middle of nowhere and not know how to act. They were never taught the proper way to act. But he says after a point, he doesn't care what they were taught. It's their job to learn. When I came back from the East last autumn, I felt that I wanted the world to be in uniform and at a sort of moral attention forever. I wanted no more riotous excursions with privileged glimpses into the human heart. Only Gatsby, who we haven't met yet, but he is about to, he's just introduced him, the man who gives his name to this book, was exempt from my reaction. So the only person that he had tolerance for was Gatsby. Gatsby, who represented everything for which I have an unaffected scorn. If personality is an unbroken series of successful gestures, then there was something gorgeous about him. Some heightened sensitivity to the promises of life, as if he were related to one of those intricate machines that register earthquakes 10,000 miles away. So there's something special about Gatsby that makes Nick not want to judge him. He has some tolerance for Gatsby's off behavior. This responsiveness had nothing to do with that flabby impressionability which is dignified under the name of the creative temperament. It was an extraordinary gift of hope, a romantic readiness, such as I have never found in any other person. So what's special about Gatsby is his hope, and which is not likely I shall ever find again. No, Gatsby turned out all right at the end. It is what preyed on Gatsby, what foul dust floated in the wake of his dreams that temporarily closed out my interest in the abortive sorrows and short-winded elations of men. Now he is going to tell us about his family. My family have been prominent, well-to-do people in the middle western city for 3 generations. So his family, they're not super rich, but they're well off. The Carraways are something of a clan, and we have a tradition that we're just descended from the Dukes of Beckley. But the actual founder of my line was my grandfather's brother, who came here in 51, sent a substitute to the Civil War, and started the wholesale hardware business that my father carries on today. So that's where his family gets his money, a hardware business. I never saw this great uncle, but I'm supposed to look like him, with special reference to the rather hard-boiled painting that hangs in Father's office. I graduated from New Haven in 1915, just a quarter of a century after my father, and a little later I participated in that delayed Teutonic migration known as the Great War. So he went to college, and he also was in the Great War. I enjoyed the counter raids so thoroughly that I came back restless. Instead of being the warm center of the world, the Middle West now seemed like the ragged edge of the universe. So what's happened after he comes back from the war, he's kind of bored with the Middle West. Instead of being the warm center of the world, the Middle West now seemed like the ragged edge of the universe. So I decided to go east and learn the bond business. So he's going to go to New York and learn about bonds, meaning banking, stock market. Everybody I knew was in the bond business, so I supposed it could support one more single man. All my aunts and uncles talked it over as if they were choosing a prep school for me, and finally said, "Why, yes," with very grave, hesitant faces. Father agreed to finance me for a year, and after various delays, I came east permanently, I thought, in the spring of 22. The practical thing to do was to find rooms in the city, but it was a warm season, and I had just left a country of wide lawns and friendly trees. So when a young man at the office suggested that we take a house together in a commuting town, it sounded like a great idea. He found the house, a weather-beaten cardboard bungalow at $80 a month, but at the last minute the firm ordered him to Washington, and I went out to the country alone. I had a dog, at least I had him for a few days until he ran away, and an old Dodge and a Finnish woman, this is like the caretaker of the house, who made my bed and cooked breakfast and muttered Finnish wisdom to herself over the electric stove. It was only for a day or so until one morning some man more recently arrived than I stopped me on the road. "How do you get to West Egg Village?" he asked helplessly. I told him, and as I walked on, I was lonely no longer. So he's moved to a city. He doesn't know anybody. He's living in this little house on the outskirts of the city. So he's a little lonely. And what makes him less lonely is when someone confides in him about how to get somewhere. So now he's being seen by other people as someone who belongs there. I was a guide, a pathfinder, an original settler. He had casually conferred on me the freedom of that neighborhood. And so with the sunshine and the great bursts of leaves growing on the trees, just as things grow in fast movies, I had that familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the summer. So he's got a new start. There was so much to read, for one thing, and so much fine health to be pulled down out of the young, breath-giving air. I bought a dozen volumes on banking and credit and investment securities, and they stood on my shelf in red and gold like new money from the mint, promising to unfold the shining secrets that only Midas and Morgan and Masoness knew. And I had the high intention of reading many other books besides. I was rather literary in college. One year I wrote a series of very solemn and obvious editorials for the Yale News. And now I was going to bring back all such things into my life and begin again that most limited of all specialists, the well-rounded man. This isn't just an epigram. Life is much more successfully looked at from a single window after all. So he's trying to be a well-rounded man. That is where we are going to stop. We will continue chapter 1 later. For now, we're just going to focus on these pages that we've annotated so far.